Hello, good evening, Gary Edward Geddle, psychologist, psychotherapist, here on my terrace in Lausanne, Switzerland. Today is the 17th of June, 2025, and today I want to talk about stop being a Don Quixote. It's an interesting subject. We started to talk about it with one of my patients today, and it seemed to me to be an interesting subject in which I have quite a lot of personal anecdotes that show you that if you are finding yourself in this position, you're not the only one. And I found myself often in that situation. And so you can see how slowly I decided to stop being that and to find a better way of functioning. As always, we're doing this 70-day challenge. I don't know if you're watching this in the idea of the 70-day challenge, but just the same, 70-day challenge is something that we're after. So I'll tell you a little bit about what I'm doing. So I had a difficult time over the weekend, as we might have noticed if you would have seen the videos I put out. This week has got better. I managed to cut down on my expectations for myself, and the admission that I gave was better to bend than to break. And I don't know if you've seen that at all, but the idea that if you are finding yourself, you're beyond your limits, things that you're not able to do, you're not succeeding to do, then just cut down. Take a step back and say, okay, what are my most important priorities in life in this moment? And what can I do to succeed, to do what I feel is most important? And I just, so you know what my most important priorities are. Of course, my family is important, but I have other people that do a lot of looking after for them, to them, with them. So I don't need to spend that much time on it. But my highest priorities, other than my family, are my patients. Obviously, they're the people I give the most attention to. I need to be physically, emotionally, psychologically present for them. First priority. Second priority is the clinic. I'm responsible for half of the clinic, and that means the wages and the salaries, and it's the same thing, isn't it? The rent and all the other sort of things that need to be paid for and dealt with. So that's something I had to do. And the third thing, the thing that sort of came up and it's taking a lot of time and space, is there's a birthday on Saturday, and for that birthday, I tend to invite people on my terrace. My terrace is a total mess. I had an awful lot of things to do to make it okay. And I worked at it over the weekend and a bit on Monday, and it's going forward. Tomorrow I'm going to spend a lot more time, and so I feel that by Saturday I'll have it sorted, and that's helped me feel better. And and the fourth is the YouTube. And I managed to get everything else done. So here I am. So stop being Don Quixote. As presumed, you know, Cervantes, the writer of Don Quixote de la Mancha. Maybe you know the musical play, The Man of La Mancha. Why am I Don Quixote, the Lord of La Mancha? My destiny calls and I go. So or there's just so many other stories and other things about Don Quixote. And being Don Quixote, the idea is that you go and you help other people, you give of yourself, and you save other people, and it's wonderful. Well, not really. First of all, the personage of Don Quixote was an old noble that got lost himself in books and in culture and in history, and all of a sudden he decided he wanted to be a knight errant, and he went off to be a knight errant, which is total stupid. And he was old, and he had old rusty armor, and he had an old horse, and it was total nonsense. But the concept of being Don Quixote, the concept of actually going against something larger than life, fighting giants, already windmills, it's exciting. And to be able to help other people and to be a hero is something that's very valorizing. And myself, especially when I was younger, was very much a people pleaser. What could I do to make people like me more, and what could I do to help? Because part of that's why I become a therapist. What can I do to help? And so I have a few anecdotes of my a bit of my life history that shows the steps from being a Don Quixote, from being there supporting other people with no interest for myself, to the point where I realized it wasn't working. So, you can follow these stories. They might find them interesting, but they show also a process. So the first instance I remember, I was at high school, sixth form in England, and I was studying economics, which I understood quite well. Quite good at that. And in our little group of people, which I knew vaguely, we sort of sit basically together for the courses. There was this young girl, quite pretty, and she turned around in the middle of one of the courses. I'm totally lost, don't understand anything. I'm going to fail everything, and I need to ask the teacher what about this, and I'm too scared to go and ask him. So I said, "No worries. Look at me. I'll do it." So we waited till after the class had finished. Everybody else had left. We went down together, and I asked the teacher if we could have 5 minutes of his time, a very generous teacher, because there was a subject that was very, very unclear. Now, it wasn't unclear to me, but I put myself in the position of being totally stupid to be able to give him the excuse, because she didn't want to admit that she didn't understand. So I had to pretend I didn't understand so he could explain the story to her. And so that was the first time that I remember where I actually went and did something for someone else that was in no interest for me. It was just not interesting for me at all. I knew it. I was capable of it. I think I got a B in the exams, which is sort of A, B, C, D, E, F. I got a B, so I really did well with it, understood it very well. So I didn't need that, but I did it for her. That was my first act of a Don Quixote. Strangely enough, and that's only when I did the French that I actually realized that there was a second incident that was only about 2 years later. Now, what happened is between that moment and my starting university, my first studies at university, which was management sciences. Yes, I've done a few different things. The management sciences, I took a year off. So other people, I had a friend that went straight to the same university I was going to, and he said that first year economics, which was compulsory for all the students, was nothing simple. It was exactly what we studied. So I went the next year expecting to study exactly the same thing. And what I was confronted with was a new economics teacher who had appeared that year that had an incredibly weird way of teaching economics. He got us to buy something called the Blue Book. The Blue Book is all statistics all over England, all different things. And he spent each week going through some statistics of something. It was as dry as sand. It was awful. And everybody complained. Nobody understood what he was doing. They called him the Gestapo. And the truth of the matter is, he was small, he was blonde, he was stocky, and he wore a leather jacket into his classes. So calling him the Gestapo was reasonably appropriate, but they said it to him about him because they were angry with him. They were upset with him, didn't understand what he was doing. And I went and asked him to explain to me what he was doing. I wasn't interested in that, but there was such a feeling around me of people that were lost and confused, and nobody wanted to go and ask him. They were all complaining, but nobody would actually go and ask him. So I said, look, I'll go. Again, I wasn't that interested. It was one course out of about, 20 courses with lots of different courses in the first year. And it wasn't that important for most of us. We just had to pass it anyway. It wasn't going to help or hinder passing it to understand what he was going on about. But for some reason, Don Quixote here went and asked him for an interview, asked him if he would explain to me why he was doing what he was doing. I studied economics at A level, which is the step of high school. And I didn't understand what the sense was, what the purpose was, and it was nothing like what I was studying. So he said, come to my office on such and such an hour, such and such a date. So I went to his office, and he spent an hour explaining to me why he was teaching what he was teaching. The management sciences that we did was a what they call a thick sandwich. There was 2 years at university, 1 year in industry, out in business or whatever it was, and then a final year in university. So it was 3 academic years. He said, well, this is the first year. This is what you're all doing. The second year for the ones that are more interested in economics, and that's what we're going to do. And then the final year, for those that want to do a major in economics, that's it. But they need to have this base so they can give that, blah, 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 blah. And it all made perfect sense. It's totally dry. That was true. But, people that study economics at university, they need to be a little bit dry themselves to be interested in that. And so, again, I spent an hour of my time finding out about something I had no interest in, so I'd go back and support the other people. Again, Don Quixote. Do something for others, not for me. Second situation. Third situation was 2 years later. 2 years later, it was the year out. I happened to find myself in London for reasons that are much too complicated to explain here. I'd love to tell you the stories, but that's not really part of the Don Quixote bit. So I will leave that to one side. I was living and working in London, and I decided, because I decide things like that, I wanted to do a professional modeling course as part on the side. It was an evening classes. So I enrolled in. It was the new something road modeling course or whatever it was. New Regent Street, was it? New Bond Street, I think it was. New Bond Street School of Modeling. It was actually quite posh, I suppose. And we were there with guys from all over England, maybe Scotland, maybe Ireland. I can't remember where it's from. There's people from all over and all types. I remember this one with a big moustache. It was all people that fancied themselves. I mean, after all, if you paid, you could do it. So it was no big deal. And so we went to do this course, and one of the guys who wanted to do this course was a black guy. Now I don't know if the others were racist because he was black. That I never found out because I never asked. And he was, not only was he black, but he was tall, he was elegant. He was a dancer, so he moved like this, like that. He had this gorgeous figure, and he was handsome as anything. He was drop dead gorgeous, and he wore the most wonderful clothes. So he was like the model of anything that these guys could fantasize to be like, and they must have been horribly jealous of him. Now, I only realized this a long time later, but they must have been horribly jealous of him and wanted to somehow bring him down to their level. They thought maybe he had too many airs and graces because it was just gorgeous. It was really gorgeous. And what happened is that he and I started to joke with each other. In French, called taquiner. I can't remember what it is in English, actually. And so we would attack each other in a humorous way, chip at each other. Sure, I could find a better word for that somewhere. And the others thought it was wonderful. Now, I was under the impression that it was wonderful because it was amusing, because I was clever and amusing, and also he was as well. I mean, it was not only was he gorgeous, he could give as good as he took. And it went on, and over time, over the weeks, the barbs got sharper, and they got deeper, and they got nastier. It was still humorous, still great like that, but they started to get nasty, and I hadn't really noticed. And then one evening, because it was an evening course, I said something particularly unpleasant, very funny, but particularly unpleasant. Can't remember what it was. And he looked at me, and I said, "What do you think about that?" He said, "I actually didn't hear what you said." I said, "Why not?" He says, "Because I'm actually totally deaf in that ear." I said, "You're joking, aren't you?" He says, "No, I'm totally deaf. You know, I've done accents as a child, and I just don't hear at all in that ear. So you use that ear." And I stopped, because somehow or other, the fact that he was handicapped shocked me. And it woke me up from this mad dream, this mad fantasy of being in this relationship with him, with his joshing him and things like that. And I suddenly realized how horrible was the thing I just said. I stopped dead. Now, everybody wanted me to continue. Go on, say something, da 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 da. And I started to feel incredibly uncomfortable because it was at that moment, somewhere, I realized that I was being nasty to him because they wanted me to be nasty to him. He was the giant that Don Quixote was supposed to bring down, and he wasn't. He wasn't a bad person. He wasn't unpleasant. He was a wonderful human being. And I didn't want to attack him anymore. So I stopped. And that was the moment I started to realize, because not quite finished yet, I started to realize that to be the person that goes and attacks, to be the champion of other people, that in a fight that's not my battle, it's not the place to be. But it took me a few years longer. And before I came to my last anecdote on this, you'd be pleased to hear, until I got to the point where I realized this was not the right thing to do. So I spent some time in a spiritual community called Fintore in the north of Scotland, which is a wonderful place. Unfortunately, it's having huge problems at the moment. So if you know anything about spiritual communities or Fintore or something, and you can do anything to help, please get in contact with them and do whatever you can, because they're really suffering and they really could do with all the help you can. And it's great. They've been around for over 60 years, and I think that they could do with a bit of help and support. I'm not fighting for them. I'm just supporting and giving you some ideas. So I was there for a 1 or 2 week, I think it was for 2 weeks, a 2 week residential course. And for that, they decided to start on the first evening with something to do with giving and receiving. And so, okay, we're going to do a workshop on giving and receiving. Come with an amount of real cash, and enough cash for you to feel that it's real. Not like, 5 francs, 5 euros, and all that, but something like that. And I came with that, 40 or 50 pounds, which is like, I don't know, a couple of hundred euros or francs or dollars at the moment. It's quite a sum. And the thing was quite simple, is that you went in with your group, this new group that we didn't know, because this is the first time we were together, the first group that we did. And you'd say, I would like some money to do this. And they'd go, okay, here's the money for that. And I would like some money for that. And then you go and say, I would like some money for the other thing and that. And the idea was just to see this flow of asking and receiving. And that was it. Now, in this group was this small Italian guy. Now, nothing against small people, nothing particularly against Italian, but I was very much against him. And because what it turned out was that he'd done this group in another context in Italy. Well, there's a place, I think it's the Miasto. That's the one of the Italian New Age places. And no, Miasto is our show. So another one, whatever. Fantasize. So he'd done this group before, and he knew the way it played out. And as we came to the end of the group session, he went around everybody asking them for money. And everybody, oh, yeah, sure, here's this money, here's that money, and that. And when we come back and ask him for this money, he said, oh, I'm not so sure. It doesn't sound like a good idea, blah, blah, blah. Here's a bit of something, maybe. That. And at the end of the group, he ended up with this huge, huge pile of money. And then we said, okay, the group's over. Do we get our money back now? And the people said, no, of course not. The idea of the group is to give and receive, and the way you finish is the way you finish. He says, well, nobody told us that. I says, well, that's just the way it is. And then this guy who was, I don't know, weirdly transparent, he said, yeah, I played this in Italy. And so I came because I didn't have enough money for this group, so I could come. I thought I'd do this. I knew this was going to start the group. And I intentionally got all this money so I can do I can pay for my group. And everybody was angry. Of course they were. We felt tricked. We felt conned. It was awful. We went to a spiritual community, and this little whatever came and stole our money, pretending to be spiritual. Oh, everyone was very, very angry. I was irritated. I wasn't very angry. And then, so it's like we had to say something to the focalizers, the two people running the groups, which will be the same two people going to run the group for the whole period. So this is our first real meeting with them. So Don Quixote goes forward, starts complaining, starts being aggressive with these people. How dare they do this and not warn us of the rules? And he knows the rules, and it's totally unfair, and it's not spiritual. And I'm starting to get really angry. And these two, and quite a big guy. And when I get angry, it's sort of like a bit scary. And they started to be uncomfortable with me. And suddenly, for a reason that just felt something, and then I turned around to see what the others were going to say, but they weren't there. There was nobody there. It was just me. It was just me making myself the target of the unhappiness of these two poor buggers who had focalized this group, were told what to do, told what to say, and they were sort of like, they were victims as well of this guy that manipulated everything. They didn't know what to do. They had their rules and they followed their rules, but they were more like very uncomfortable as well. And I was attacking them. They were going to be running this group for weeks. I was going to be in that group for weeks. And I was the one that was going to be the bad object, because I was the one that's screaming at them and telling them off. And everybody else had gone away. And I noticed, and I thought, this is no good. What am I doing here? I didn't care that much. It wasn't that much money for me. It was uncomfortable and I felt tricked, but it wasn't the end of the world. I wasn't as angry as all the other people that were behind me, pumping me up to go and attack these two people. And I went, I'm sorry. This is not my battle. This is the battle of everybody. And if nobody else wants to join in with me and take a position, then let it go. Just let it go. And that was it. And that was the moment I stopped being Don Quixote. That was the moment I stopped fighting other people's battles for them, because other people rarely even appreciate it, that you put yourself in some form of danger, some form of risk, some form of difficult situation for them. And most of them, they hide behind or they run away. But they're not there fighting with me. They're not there fighting with you. This role of Don Quixote is a role of failure. Now, there is a huge difference between fighting for something you believe in. If you want to be the head of an association, of a group, if you want to be the porte-parole, the speaker for a group, if you want to be a negotiator for a union, if you want to be a politician, if these things are important to you, then of course you will do it. Of course you should. If you believe in something and you want to fight for what you believe, I support you 100%, because that is wonderful. It's wonderful to believe in something and to be ready to fall on your soul for it, because that's something you believe in. That is nothing to do with being a Don Quixote. A Don Quixote fights battles for other people that are not their own, not your own. If you find yourself more than once fighting someone else's battle for them, and you feel they're not there with you, it's okay. You know, someone's here and they're fighting, and I'm fighting with them because I believe that they need to be looked after, helped, defended, protected, whatever. And they're also in danger. They're also put themselves forward. That's fine. That's great. That's not Don Quixote. Don Quixote is when you're there and they are not. And that is something to keep away from. You are not there to fight other people's battles for them. You can be there to support them. You can be there to help them. You can be there to watch their backs. You can be there to carry their stuff. But you're not there to fight other people's battles. That's not your job in life. I mean, yes, if you want to be a lawyer, then that is your job, because that's what you've chosen to do. If you want to be a negotiator for a union, that's because you wanted to do it. That's because that's something that works for you. But these are roles of people that they choose to fight for the people, but they're also fighting for some of themselves. A lawyer gets very well paid, thank you very much, for fighting someone else's battle. A union leader is the head of a union. They have power, they have influence, they have respect, and they're fighting also for themselves, because a union leader in general works in that industry, and also arguing also for maybe for their own conditions, their own wages, and people that are close to them. So that's a totally different thing. What I'm talking about is the moment that you get dragged into fighting someone else's battle for them, and they're not there with you. You're doing it for them, and you have no personal benefit from it. That is not good. That is destructive to yourself, because you become the target of other people's anger, other people's frustration. People want to attack you because you are speaking on behalf of someone else, saying something that they don't want to hear, or ask them to do something they don't want to do, and you become the target. I think there's something called in French called the tête de Turc, or don't shoot the messenger, or all these sort of like ways of expressing that the person that goes forward with the message, the person that confronts the others, they're the person that gets it. They don't say, "Oh well, we don't agree with you. Goodbye." No, it's usually like, "We're going to attack you because we consider you now to be the target. We consider you to be the person to be attacked." So anyway, that's my little story of today. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your attention. I hope you found it interesting and useful. So if you find yourself in the position of a Don Quixote, give it up. Take off your armor. Take a break. It's not your battle. Don't do it. Give it up. It's fine. That's the way it's supposed to be. So I didn't plan to be here tonight, and I wasn't sure I would make it, but I did, and I have. Tomorrow, I think I will also succeed to be here. So if you're here tomorrow at 8:30 CEST, Central European Summer Time, I think I should be here. I'll have something else to discuss. Something hopefully will be also useful for you in your lives. If you find this useful, please like, subscribe, share with your friends, talk to other people about it, send me a message. If there's a subject that you're interested that I might talk about, that you've heard about, that's to do with spirituality or psychology or well-being or anything like that, just let me know, and I'll see what I can do to find out about it, or maybe I already know things about that subject and I can talk to you about it and help you understand something if you would like that way. So that's all for tonight. Go well, have a great evening, and if all goes well, I'll see you tomorrow.